Once upon a time, long, long ago, when everyone believed in magic. Everyone. You might have a wizard that lived down the street, or a witch around the corner. There was a woman that some called a witch. Some said no, she was an enchantress. Some said no, she was a healing woman. They had seen her do things like look at a flower, clap her hands, and the petals would fly off like a butterfly. Incredible. They had seen her look at a stone and snap her fingers, and the stone would hop away. Now, she had 3 sons. And children are always used to the mother they get. And they were used to having her do things that are extraordinary to you or to me. They might be playing outside, and a bully would come and say, you better give me that. If you don't give me that, I'm going to beat you up. And the mother would look out the window and turn that bully into a bullfrog, and it would hop away. Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. Or a child might come and say, I'm not allowed to play at your house because your mother's a witch. She'd snap her fingers, and that child became a gnat, and off it buzzed. The boys were used to it. Every night, there were 2 pots on the stove. One, soup or stew. The other, bat's wings, lizard's tongues, the green algae slime from the deepest wells, boiling and bubbling. And the boys knew it was her magical potion. They mustn't touch it. Now the boys grew until they could look their mother in the eye. And they were getting a bit of a mustache and a little bit of hair on the chin. And then she saw them as stronger than she. She imagined that they wanted her most precious gift, which was her magical powers. And that imagining turned into jealousy of their strength, and that jealousy turned into fear of their strength. Until she was nervous every time she saw her own sons. And one day, when the oldest one came in the door, she looked at him and turned him into an eagle. And off he flew. 23 hours of every day, he was an eagle in the mountains. For 1 hour, he was himself. The second boy came through that door. She looked at him and turned him into a whale. 23 hours every day, he was a whale in the deep sea. 1 hour, he was himself. The third son saw what happened to his brothers, and he didn't walk through the front door. He turned away. He walked away from his home, wondering whether she would have turned him into a lion or a bear. And as he wandered out into the world, he passed fields of workers and farms, and he went through villages, and everyone was telling the same story of the magic castle of the sun. They said, the most beautiful girl in the world is in the magic castle of the sun. And she has been enchanted to stay there by her wizard king father. 23 men have already tried to save her. Everyone has died trying. 1 more will be given the chance. If not, she will be there forever. And when the third son heard that the most beautiful woman in all the world was in the magic castle of the sun, that's where he wanted to go. So he asked everyone, where is it? Where's the magic castle of the sun? No one knew. And so we went, as we do in fairy tales, into the deep woods. So many stories go there. He's in the deep woods when he hears, he looks, and they're these huge giants. And they are wailing on each other. They're punching each other. They're kicking each other. Hey, you better give me that. I will not. Yes, I will. And they saw him. Hey, there's one of those little guys. Yeah, one of those little guys. Yeah, well, maybe he can solve this for us. Yeah, maybe he can. Because you know what? We're big. We're tough. We're kind of stupid. And that guy, he's little and weak. He's smart. Yeah, maybe he is smart. And they waved him over, and he went. We've been fighting for 3 days. I want that, because it's mine. No, I want it. It's mine. And it was a red hat. Each one had a hand on it. Tell us how to solve the problem. What's the big deal with the hat? It's a magic hat. Yeah. You put it on your head, you wish, and it takes you wherever you want to go. Oh, give me the hat. I know. One of you may not be stronger in a fight, but one of you surely is faster in a race. Give me the hat. I'll run off. When I whistle, you two will race. Whomever catches me will have the hat. Yeah, isn't that smart? That's smart. And so they gave him the magic hat. He took the hat, he put it on his head, and off he went, and to my surprise and yours, he forgot to whistle. He forgot the power of the hat. He had one thing in mind, the magic castle of the sun. He kept going and going and going until he had almost walked through his shoe leather. He was hungry, he was exhausted. He sat down on a tree stump and he said, "Oh, I just wish I were at the magic castle of the sun." Whoop! And there he was. There he was. Now the castle, the spires were so high that to look to the top, you were blinded by the brilliant sun. And below that mountaintop, there was clouds. It was such a high mountain. And he knew that he was going to go in to the castle and see the most beautiful woman in all the world. And so he opened the door full of excitement. He stepped in. Nobody was there. The castle was empty. He walked down the halls. And if you've ever been, even in NDV, in a school, empty, you can hear the echo. Have you ever had that experience? You can hear the echo of yourself in a wide hallway. And that's what he was hearing. He could hear his footfalls. He could hear his breath echoing off the stone walls. He went higher. He went higher. He went higher. No one, no one, no one, until he went up a tower. And at the top, there was candlelight flickering out from beneath the only door. She's there. The most beautiful woman in the world. She's in there. And so he opened the door and he looked across at the ugliest woman he had ever seen in his entire life. I mean, ugh. She had one bulging eye and the other hollow eye socket. Her face was so wrinkled it looked like a squeezed and unfolded paper bag. And down those creases came yellow ooze. She had one tooth that hung to her chin, otherwise toothless. Her neck was as thin as a chicken's neck and it was wrinkly. Her hair was falling in greasy lumps, and the grease dripped down her neck. You are the most beautiful woman in all the world. For you, 23 men have died? This is not my true face, you see. This is not my true face. My father gave me this face. If you must see me for who I am, look there in the mirror. And she pointed with a gnarled finger to a mirror on the dresser. He went and he picked up the mirror, and when he looked in it, he did not see his own reflection, but he saw a beautiful young woman with silken hair, skin as smooth as a peach, shimmering eyes, and tears brilliant as crystals pouring down her cheek. "This is the worst curse I've ever seen," he said. "Tell me what I must do." "No, leave me now. 23 have died. I cannot bear the grief of another." "No, but I'm not like any other," he said. "Tell me what you need." "I need the crystal ball." "Oh, I know all about magic," he said. "Ah, but the crystal ball is inside an egg. The egg is in the talons of a phoenix. The phoenix is in the body of a bull. The bull is at the bottom of the mountain. You must go down the mountain. You must kill the bull. And when you do, the phoenix will burst from its back with that egg. If the egg should drop, it will burst into flame and melt the crystal. And if the crystal is lost, I am here forever. He went and looked in the mirror. He looked at her. He said, I will do it. And he exited. Down the mountain he went. And when he got to the stream, he looked across, and there was an immense bull. Its horns were red from the blood of those it had already gored to death. Its hooves had crushed the bones of the others into the ground. And when that bull saw him, it pawed the earth, ready to fight to the death again. And our hero, the third son, just wanted to go home. But he couldn't. And he'd made a promise. And so he drew his sword, and instead of attacking the bull, he jumped across the stream and he began to dance. He spun that sword around, and the bull watched the flashing light on the sword blade. And then he circled around the bull. He actually did a backflip over the bull's back, and when the bull turned, losing its balance, the third son thrust the sword deeply into the bull, and as the warm blood poured down his arm, a huge phoenix burst out of its back. A phoenix every color of the rainbow, flying up and up and up, and in its talons a red egg. And so the young one, the third son, runs and runs and runs, and up there is the phoenix, when from behind a cloud comes an eagle. Wah! And the eagle attacks the bird, and the two birds fight. Beak, talons, claws, the feathers flying everywhere. The phoenix, getting the worst of it, drops the egg. Can you see it? That red egg falling, falling, falling against a blue sky. And our third son, he is running with all his heart, but he can't catch it. No. It fell on a fisherman's hut. And just as she had said, it burst into flame. But the hut was by the sea, and in the sea was the whale, and the whale splashed water up and up and up, and the fire went out. And so he dug through the soggy ashes, and he found that egg, cracked for having been so hot and then so cold. Opened the egg, and there was the crystal ball. Can you imagine it? Can you imagine it? And when he held it up, the light shining through sent rainbows everywhere. And so he waved to his brother in the sky, and he waved to his brother in the sea. And he took that crystal. He went back across the stream and up the mountain. And when he opened the door this time, a king was standing there who said, "Finally, someone has done it right. You've done it right. The crystal is your power to transform my daughter into herself again, and you now will be the king of the magic castle of the sun." And so the third son walked past that king. He went up that tower. He went into the room, and when he held that crystal up, she, that hag, that ancient, revolting woman, became the beauty that he had seen in the mirror. The two of them sat down together in the tower and told each other stories. You can imagine how many stories she had to tell and how many he had to tell. And they decided before they exchanged rings that they should go and find an eagle to turn him into himself again, and a whale to turn himself into himself again. Turn the whale into himself again. And they did that. And then they exchanged rings. And how did they live? Happily ever after.